All right, so I don't think that I've had the chance to cover Havana syndrome, unfortunately, on this channel as of yet, but we have a new report here from Buzz News, which is basically explaining why Havana syndrome is entirely bullshit, okay? So just a reminder on exactly what Havana syndrome is, or what the CIA is claiming Havana syndrome is. It is basically this idea that the Cuban military or the Cuban government, working in coordination with Russia or China or some ambiguous and vague adversary of the United States, they're working to basically use a highly sophisticated and, by some scientists' testimony, physically impossible superweapon that is sonic or of microwave radiation in some capacity, and they are using this weapon against CIA agents around the world in order to give them symptoms ranging from nausea to headaches to poopy diarrhea and basically everything in between, okay? So it's a pretty radical claim, right? To say that the government of Cuba or any of our other adversaries have figured out a technology, even though the United States spends multiple times more than them on our military and intelligence and the technology that we put into our military services, even though there is this wide discrepancy that somehow Cuba or Russia or China have figured out this radically different technology that the US can't get its hands on, and they are using this to basically take out CIA agents, not kill them or anything remotely close to that, but just, you know, give them slight headaches and inconvenience them, I guess. So that's basically what Havana syndrome has been alleged to be by the CIA. As you can see, if you just Google this, I mean, every single outlet has been talking about this. The BBC, it's got its own goddamn Wikipedia page. You got the Wall Street Journal, you got the New Yorker, New York Mag, CNN, Washington Post, Miami Herald. Every single news outlet is taking the CIA at their word this entire time as if this has been a real phenomenon, okay? Again, with basically no evidence, and really where the CIA and our intelligence agencies can't even give a firm definition of what it actually is that they think Havana syndrome is, but we do have a good idea now of what it actually is, counter to what the CIA has been saying. So here from BuzzFeed Nude, just came out today, BuzzFeed News, not nude, but this just came out today. So a secret State Department report says microwaves didn't cause Havana syndrome. So a declassified State Department report obtained by BuzzFeed News dismissed the theory that microwave weapons are behind the mysterious neurological injuries in diplomats worldwide. Okay, so noises linked to mysterious injuries among US diplomats in Cuba were most likely caused by crickets, not microwave weapons, according to a declassified scientific review commissioned by the US State Department and obtained by BuzzFeed News. And they continue saying, the State Department report was written by Jason Advisory Group, an elite scientific board that has reviewed U.S. national security concerns since the Cold War, and it was completed in November of 2018. 2 years ago, or 2 years after dozens of U.S. diplomats in Cuba and their families reported hearing buzzing noises and then experiencing puzzling neurological injuries, including pain, vertigo, and difficulty concentrating. And they continue saying that originally classified as secret, the report concluded that the sounds accompanying at least 8 of the original 21 Havana syndrome incidents were most likely caused by insects. And that same scientific review also judged it, quote, highly unlikely that microwaves or ultrasound beams, now widely proposed by U.S. government officials to explain the injuries, were involved in the incidents. And though the report didn't definitively conclude what caused the injuries themselves, it found that psychogenic mass psychology effects may have played a role. So in other words, they are hallucinating this in this entire project of creating this mass movement around Havana syndrome and pretending as if this is something that everybody is being affected by, then leads to them convincing themselves that they have been affected by this and attributing some symptoms, which could be from an entirely wide array of things, to Havana syndrome or to some secret microwave radiation beam that they have been talking about here. But again, finding that it is most likely insects, specifically crickets here. So you see a little piece from here from the executive summary. So they say, we believe the recorded sounds, which were the examples that they got of the 8 out of the 21 of the original ones, are mechanical or biological in origin rather than electronic, and the most likely source is the Indies short-tailed cricket, okay? Not a secret, massive weapon that the Cuban military somehow managed to create without the United States knowing about it. So they continue saying that the report's findings fly in the face of a medical report that was commissioned by the State Department and published by a National Academies of Science panel last year, which found that microwaves were the most plausible cause of the symptoms. So they had a different report, which was published in the National Academies of Sciences. Okay, a panel approved this, and they said microwaves were the most plausible cause. Okay, so where did they get that idea? Well, important detail here, that panel that made that decision was not provided with the Jason report as a part of its assessment, the NAS told told BuzzFeed News. So they had completely inadequate or incomplete data when they were talking about what the potential causes would be, and concluded that it was a secret microwave energy weapon instead of, crickets. Okay, so this is completely ridiculous, but let's continue. So here's what basically some of the reports have been up until this point. So from China to Washington, D.C., around 200 possible Havana syndrome incidents have been reported worldwide since the initial cases described in the Jason report, and more cases have surfaced since U.S. intelligence agencies began conducting a review of what are now called anomalous health incidents, extremely vague there, and after the Defense Department asked its personnel worldwide to report suspected cases in September, and in recent weeks, cases have reportedly struck an intelligence officer traveling with CIA Director William Burns in India and led Vice President Kamala Harris to delay a trip to Vietnam and triggered a recall of a CIA station chief in Vienna. Okay, so I wonder if there's somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy here, or a feedback loop where you are calling out to all of your CIA agents in the field and all of your diplomats in the field and saying, hey, are you guys experiencing any nausea? Have you had any nausea over the last couple of weeks? Maybe that's Havana syndrome, so tell us about it, and maybe we'll call that Havana syndrome as well. But literally, this led to Vice President Kamala Harris changing her plans. Okay, so it's reached the highest levels of our government, right? And they continue saying that on Tuesday, the House of Representatives even voted, okay, this is one of the most insane aspects of this, without any firm evidence as to what this disease actually is, what is causing it, what are the actual firm array of symptoms that these people are experiencing, nothing concrete in any way. And yet, on Tuesday, the House of Representatives voted 427-0 to pass a Havana Act bill compensating CIA and State Department personnel affected by such incidents. So they can't afford to give you guys healthcare. They can't afford to lower prescription drug prices so that you can afford your medicines. But don't worry, they're covering the CIA and their fake poopy ray gun illness that was apparently sent by the US or by the Cuban military. So they continue saying news reports have widely blamed Russian spies randomly targeting CIA and State Department personnel with microwave weapons and attributed this view to senior US officials. But the Jason report provided a far less elaborate explanation. The team was given 8 recordings of incidents linked to the injuries and performed an extensive video analysis of 2 cell phone video recordings from one patient, and after extensive comparison with recordings of various insect species, they concluded with high confidence that the sounds in that case came from a particularly loud species of cricket. And 2 academic researchers who ran similar analysis in 2019 are using a recording provided by the Associated Press also concluded that the sound was caused by crickets, and the Jason scientists offered another low confidence theory that the sounds could have been caused by a nearby concrete vibrating machine with worn bearings. And they continue saying the review ruled out pulsed microwave and ultrasound as culprits. So the main thing that they initially said that this was, and in part because the Wi-Fi and other electronics in the house where the noises were recorded worked fine during the incident, and by calculating the power required for such an attack, they concluded that the noises didn't correspond to the ones generated by microwave or ultrasound frequencies. So basically ruling out the main explanation that the CIA has been running with up until this point. And they say, quote, Jason puts to rest the microwave attack theory. University of Pennsylvania biomedical engineer Kenneth Foster told BuzzFeed News, quote, while we can't rule out the idea that somebody might have been trying to harass U.S. officers, the idea that these attacks were intended to cause injury is supported neither by a smoking gun nor by clearly identified victims. So basically, no fucking evidence whatsoever that Havana syndrome is real in any way, shape, or form, okay? It might be real in the sense that these CIA agents and diplomats have reported symptoms that have some overlap between them, but guess what? People have lots of symptoms for lots of different reasons. It doesn't mean that Cuba or Russian spies are using a highly advanced secret microwave ray gun on you, okay? Believe it or not, that's not the first explanation you should jump to. Maybe, I don't know, it's just propaganda that the CIA is using, as they always do, against some of our socialist enemies that the CIA doesn't like, specifically using this to attack Cuba, right? Implying that Cuba is launching offensive attacks against U.S. diplomats and U.S. CIA agents, obviously trying to paint them as some sort of big, bad, evil character in all of this, and entirely without evidence, of course. But they continue finally saying, a mainstay of the national security arena for decades, Jason contains the nation's brightest technical minds. So just giving you a perspective on what this organization is, this is a high-powered group of expert scientists examining this question, said former Los Alamos National Laboratory chemist Cheryl Rofer. Quote, this appears to be a very thorough scientific analysis, the kind which wasn't done at the National Academies of Science report, which basically, again, concluded that it was a microwave weapon. So all of this is to say, Havana syndrome is not fucking real, okay? There's absolutely no evidence that this is a real disease, any real illness that Congress should be passing laws to give them support for, okay? It's entirely made up. This is CIA propaganda, and I would hope that most of you guys would have already known this. If you follow my channel, then you would probably be pretty skeptical, at least, of the CIA and their claims when they make such ridiculous and outlandish claims like this. So again, good luck to all these CIA agents. I hope that the poopy ray gun doesn't hit you again. But listen, it's not real, okay? Havana syndrome was entirely fabricated, at least according to this new report, which has been hidden up until this point.